Yeah,
There we go.
there we are.
Now, I believe we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, folks, very warm welcome to you all. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all. And welcome to Thursday's edition of Mauls, Balls and All. Depending on where you're watching, whether you're watching us live now at the moment or on replay or indeed whatever part of the world you are watching us from. You are all very welcome. So if you're watching on YouTube, as I keep saying, all you got to do, it doesn't cost you anything, just hit the subscribe and the like button because that helps the algorithms, as I said last week, in all that sort of stuff. Joining me this evening are some very familiar faces to you all. We have from Scotland, we have Mike Reedy. Mike, how are you? We have
Good, mate, good.
Richard Holland is also joining us, and a very angelic-looking, bright Dara Weston is joining us from Arizona. And we also have Peter Martin is also joining us. And also returning to the show, he is no stranger to the show. He's one of the greats of Irish rugby. He is a front row legend for Ireland and Leinster. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Reggie Corrigan to the stage. Reggie Corrigan, how the hell are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Peter. Very well indeed. Yeah, great to be back. Good evening to you all.
Great to have you back, Reggie.
Coming on.
Great to have you back. Anyway, are we all well in ourselves, gentlemen? As I always ask, are we all well in ourselves? It's a bit of a punchline.
We're all great, buddy. We're all great.
All good.
Very
Okay.
good.
All right. Peter, you didn't say our usual thing.
I did.
Splendid.
You were more interested in your sound of your own voice than what I had to say.
Sorry,
What a surprise.
that's on me. Okay, let's kick off. Reggie, I'll come to you first, seeing as you are our special guest. We had the two teams announced today for the big one on Saturday. We had the French team that was announced, and we had the Irish team that was announced. There was a kind of a surprise, but it wasn't really a surprise. There's a few angles, so we'll start with Furlong was not included, Reggie. Now, it wasn't a massive shock because it was, I suppose, reported in the media. I think Jerry Thornley, in his article in the Irish Times, said that Furlong would not be included. Was that a huge surprise, Reggie, to you, or were you kind of thinking, nah, not a chance?
It doesn't feel like he has been right for a while, to be honest with you. You know, type whatever seems to be going on. Just not able to get back to that level where he was at, you know. And I don't think it was any major surprise. I think people were maybe more hopeful than anything else. But even at that, you do come back. What a game it would have been to come back for, having been out for a while and everything else. So how well would he have been able to perform? He seems to be able to slot in fairly well in the past, but it would have been a big ask, I think. So not overly surprised, no, I'll be honest with you. Didn't expect it.
And Reggie, the injury that Furlong has, it's the calf muscle. Are you familiar with that? Like how
Well, I'm
tough
not familiar.
of that is it?
I'm not familiar with the injuries I had. Thank God I never had any calf injuries. I had plenty of other ones, but never in the calf. But what I do know is being in the front row, your calves take a huge amount of pressure because of the position that you're in when you're scrummaging. Your calves are constantly stretched. You know, you're kind of on your toes to get that drive going, which extends the length of the calf. And, you know, there's never kind of a place where it's not completely stretched. So if it's not in any way right, you have no chance because you're not getting anywhere to rest it. So, yeah, it just seems to be one of those niggly ones that just won't go away in them, you know, and like, they need to try and solve it, but, you know, and I suppose carrying a lot of weight, as those props tend to be, it's not easy on the calves in particular, trying to carry that. So I'd imagine it's all linked to that.
Yeah, true. Okay. Ed, I'm going to come to you, Richard, another prop. But let's just say hello to Megan, hello to Gregor, hello to Conan McIntyre, and hello to Catherine Keegan. Richard, your thoughts on Furlong and what I asked Reggie there about the calf. Have you been a prop? You played a prop. Have you ever had that injury?
No, thankfully. My problems were with my knees and my shoulders. That was my issues. But no, I'll be honest, I only live 6 miles away from Tyke Furlong's home village, and I had heard it through the grapevine that yes, he was fit, but it's a match too soon for him, effectively, is what I was told. But yeah, look, as was said there, it's probably that your legs in particular and your calves when you're in a scrum. That's the you're wrecked coming off the pitch, and normally it's your lower body is where you feel it. But yeah, look, again, I'm not surprised. I do think it's a match too soon for him. It's great to see him back training, but I think he might get a run in Italy. I'll be honest with you, and he probably deserves it at this stage as well. You know, he's been through a lot. You know, he lost his dad and everything else as well. You know, he's had a terrible year that way. So it's, you know, I'd like to see him get a run, but yeah, I'm not surprised that he didn't make the team. That being said, Beelum has been absolutely brilliant since he came in.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, no question. Mike Reedy, your thoughts on Furlong not being included? It wasn't a massive surprise.
No, it's not a surprise. I mean, the lads are obviously props. They know a lot more about that than I do. But no, I'd wish he'd get back. As Richard said, for the Italy game, it would be lovely to see him back. Just back in the green shirt again would be fantastic. But well, we are fairly. I mean, Beelum hasn't let us down anytime he's come in. He played all of last year's Six Nations as well. When Tig was out, so you know it's a bit of a concern going forward, really, for Tig himself. You know that he can't seem to remain fit long enough to get any run of games, which is tragic. Really, it's tragic for Ireland as well and for rugby in general to lose such a stalwart. You know, but it's. One man's sorrow is another man's gain, isn't it?
Well, there you go. So, that's it. Okay. Sorry, Mike. Are you finished? Sorry, I don't want to.
No, that's gone. You go. Yeah.
Okay, Dara Weston, your thoughts on this? My God, you almost look transparent, Dara. Where is the sun? Where are you? Are you on the? Are you actually on the surface of the sun?
I'm on the. Hold on, I'll close the blind after I finish talking and talk to you about the darkness. It's the fucking sunshine here. I'm in the middle of the desert. To give you an idea, I woke up the other morning to a scorpion on the bottom of my bed.
Lovely.
Oh, nice.
At the foot of the bed, and I rang the hotel reception maintenance came up, and they said, "It's grand. It's a big scorpion. It's the small scorpions you got to worry about. They're the most poisonous."
Was that the buffet breakfast? Out of curiosity.
Well, I don't know.
I've never been in Arizona, so I have no idea what it's like.
Yeah, no, it's a godless country. They have 300 golf courses, and not a single rugby pitch. So
I wouldn't like it.
Wouldn't be much.
Sorry. Okay, go on there. Anyway.
Yeah. So look, if he's not right, if he's not past medically fit to come back, you know, there's a good replacement there. We've good backup in Beelum, and. Just hopefully he'll get himself right, and then he'll get a good run without any injuries. And,
all right,
he deserves that.
He does. You're right. He does. Peter Martin, your thoughts on this?
Well, it's funny enough. I was talking as another prop former front row technician. I was talking to one of the guys I was at training with there the other night, and he's another god of the front row, and just basically chatting about it. And he said he'd been talking to a doctor, and apparently the calf muscle, this is all medical stuff, apparently the calf muscle gets the least amount of oxygen in the healing process. So that's the reason why it's basically apparently when the calves, as we already discussed, takes an awful lot of heat in scrummaging and that, and basically that's one of the issues is it just takes an awful long when they get damaged to take a long time to heal.
Slow one.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Pete. Reggie. One. Now, Osborne is in the mix. He's been picked, and he's one of our colleagues, James Grennan, who is Connacht's #1 Uber fan. He said that the games that he saw Mac playing in, he didn't think Mac Hansen was back to full fitness. Osborne in the mix. I think Osborne is a bloody fantastic player, Reggie.
No question about it, but I suppose there'll be a few that are wondering, is there someone eating a bag of crisps in the background?
There is, yeah. What's going on? I can hear that. Yeah, Reggie, you're right.
Put away that potato.
I can hear there's some bag like crunching or something. You're right,
not
Reggie.
Me. I muted myself. I think somebody has Johnny Giles and they're shifting around on their chair.
Well, I can hear it. What the hell is that?
I don't know. But anyway,
Go on, Reggie. We crack on. And
come back to Osborne. I suppose that the big one for a lot of people is the fact that Nash isn't, kind of the first choice there. That they're gone with Osborne. An amazing player, fantastic player, but we have kind of got plenty of talent in that area. But it kind of throws open the question again, a little bit of where maybe the coach's head is at, where the Easterby's head is at, and where, in general, the questions around who is our best back three, what players are our best back three. It seems we haven't been able to settle on that, or we haven't been able to. When Keenan is fit, he's the obvious one. Lowe is playing fantastic, but trying to find that 14 jersey permanent resident is a difficulty. And there's no question, I'd agree with your Uber friend in Connacht. I don't think Hansen was anywhere near what Hansen was in the past, coming back from an injury. So even without an injury, you'd question whether or not he was going to get in, because he's under pressure from Nash, there's no question. And then you got an Osborne coming in there as well. So I just feel there's a lot of questions around that, that position in general. Whereas last year you would have said it was sewn on. You kind of knew what that back three was. As I said, Keenan and Lowe when they're fit and ready to perform. But that extra third place, you didn't really know this year what that was.
Reggie, Jimmy O'Brien. Let's not forget.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's players. There's 4 players in the mix, 4 or 5 players in the mix. For that one position without somebody saying it's mine, and I mean we've even had Ringrose out there as well, so like out on the wing. So there's all sorts of stuff going on, and I suppose it just begs the question: who are the 2 wingers for Ireland? And like if you look at France and you look at what they have, I mean Penaud and Bielberry, there's serious wingers. And there's no question that when they're fit, they're in. And they're a massive threat. Lowe playing amazing stuff since he's come back. So you're saying he's a threat. But we don't seem to have that same threat on the other wing at the moment. And I think it's a bit of a concern for us that we don't just have that out-and-out speedster, blistering pace, skin you alive winger that we maybe some of the other teams have.
Dennis Hickey-esque, Keith
Yes.
Cross.
Well, there hasn't been one as fast as him since, as Dennis. He's still the fastest winger we ever had, and there hasn't been one faster than him since, which is a bit strange when you think about like the level of athletes that we're producing for sevens and across the board at schoolboy level. And it's funny how we're not able to pull out a blistering winger. Even Italy are doing it,
But Reggie, if you flip it and look at your position that you played, we're not mass producing props, really.
Well,
either.
Is anybody though?
Well, there are props there though. I mean, you look at Milne and you look at there's a conveyor belt of props coming through to a certain level, and then it's kicking on to the next level. Maybe that they're finding it tough. And I suppose the one thing about the front row is you kind of need to be older for the front row. I know we're producing a lot of very good young props, no question about it. But what you produce in a gym and strength and conditioning and everything else is not the same as a wily old prop who's got farmer strength like Ty Furlong on when he came on in the beginning. Ty came on young with farmer strength, not manufactured strength. Right, and you need that in the front row. So it's different to winger. You need that in the front row, and we're producing them very good up to under 20s, and they're going on, and they're very good quality players. But that gap from 20 to 25 is where they're trying. Like you're coming up against men. You look at the Scottish front row, the Schoomans. You look at the South African front rows. Like you're coming up against really hard, battle-hardened men that just kind of eat little boys for breakfast. So that's what happens. So it takes you a while to earn and learn that trade. Whereas with the wing, it's not the case. You can have a young lad on the wing who's blisteringly fast and just skins lads. and goes on the outside of them and leaves them for dead with pace. And I think pace wins hands down every time against size. All you have to do is go back to my day and look at the Shane Williams. The smallest man on the pitch and the most lethal. You mightn't say defensively he was most lethal, but certainly in attack, absolutely.
In attack, yes. Defensively, no. But I'm sure, like the lads that were produced for wings, I'm sure that they learned their sprinting techniques in their younger days when they're running after the ice cream van.
And they do tend to be younger. The real blistering wingers. They tend to be younger.
That's where the props learned the 2 people running after the ice cream van.
Catching it was your problem.
We never caught it.
Catching it was the problem. Yeah. Okay. Dara Weston, your thoughts on what I just discussed there with Reggie and Mac, and what James Grennan, Connacht's Uber fan, that Mac Hansen does not seem to be back to his best.
Yeah,
although he's signed a central contract there.
He doesn't seem to have captured his form since he came back from injury. Maybe he needs to get a Simon Easterby tattoo. Maybe it's the fact that he is the Andy tattoo and he's not under Andy at the moment. So maybe he needs another tattoo, which, I don't think Mac needs much suggestion to do that. But look, we're lucky in that we have the likes of Osborne to come in and cover. He'll get his form back. And hopefully he might still be in the running for the Lions.
Okay. Have you a cold, Dara, or something?
I had a cold. I'm just getting over a cold. Yeah, I came to the desert and caught a cold.
You caught a cold. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Pete, before I ask you, Anya O, hello from Kansas in the USA. Hello, Anya.
I'm sure she's just down the road.
She's just down the road. There you go. Bev Anne-Marie, I think Shane Bolton could be the future 14 for Ireland.
Fair point.
Okay, talk about wingers. There's someone else, Reggie, Simon Gagan. I think he was a bit before you, was he, Simon Gagan?
Yeah, it's just before me, but I watched enough of him growing up. I know I've met him a couple of times, and Simon was just exactly that, lightning fast, that hair going in every direction, and he was plagued with a toe injury of all things. You'd never think it was a big toe that would end your career, but he was finished with a toe injury, turf toe, I think they used to call it. But again, blisteringly fast, and we just don't produce, which it's quite amazing, really, that we don't produce that many blisteringly fast wingers.
But yet, though, Reggie, we do have some good blistering fast players on the sevens team. Now, I know it doesn't translate, but Jesus Christ, if you're putting them into a sevens team, surely to Christ, at some stage, you'd maybe be able to translate from the sevens into the 15s, if that was needed.
Hugo Keenan did, I suppose. He'd be the example that you'd hold up there.
Well, maybe. Una McGowan. Hello, Una. How are you? And welcome all. Peter Martin, your thoughts on this? Osborne, Mac not back to full fitness, but Osborne, I like Osborne. I think Osborne is a class player, like Timmy O'Brien as well.
Yeah, I would concur with
Tommy O'Brien. Sorry, Tommy O'Brien.
Yeah, I'll come to Tommy in a second. I would concur with what James Grennan and everyone else is going to say. Mac Hansen hasn't. He's not back at his best. There isn't the sparkle there that when you get the ball in his hand, the expectation he's going to do something. I think I would say that the selection of Osborne is tactical as much as anything else. I'd say it was a very close call between himself and Nash. I would say that Osborne's big boot has come into it, because we know the French like to kick the skin off the ball. Much and all that people find that hard to believe, but they actually do kick an awful lot in the game. And I would suggest that Osborne is there for that particular reason, is that, he's a good boot. We've seen when he's played at full back, like he's well able to return it and return it well. So I would suggest that there's an element that, there's going to be there's going to be serious amount of kick tennis and, play, look for 50-22s a fair bit and play from there. Look, Osborne's a fantastic footballer. He's probably wasted playing wing. He's probably better suited in a position in centre, I'd say, where he gets the ball in his hands a little bit more frequently and he just happens to have a good boot on him. Talking about players who are fast, Tommy O'Brien has been called up, called into the wider squad. He's a guy who's got serious gas. Has played very well recently. Has been very unlucky with injuries as well. So maybe he's on the cusp of getting himself in a more permanent role in the squad. Like, as we don't have out and out pace. Perhaps the Farrell has looked for kind of more X factor footballing type wings, guys who can play in as a come in as first receiver, and be kind of a playmaking role rather than being an out and out, man to streak down the line in a foot race. So look, maybe O'Brien will be in with a shout for the summer tour, like when Easterby's in charge, and we'll see if he'll push Mac and the others for a place in the team. After all, Lowe is aging, so there's room there for succession.
One point, lads, just to finish on the Hansen thing, but one point that needs to be considered, I think, is that Mac Hansen burst into the Irish team on the back of what he was doing in Connacht, right? And at the time when he was coming in, Connacht were playing a different brand of rugby. They were playing better rugby. They were arguably a far superior team than they are now. And, he's injured for a period of time. He's coming back and he's kind of thrown in straight away to the Irish team, not given a whole lot of game time prior to it. But, Connacht, I hate to knock them, and I don't, because I'm a big Connacht supporter, but they're not, they're not resourced enough. They don't have the players at the moment, and they're not playing well enough, And if you're a winger playing for Connacht, you're not seeing much of the ball. And Mac Hansen, his form can't improve, and he can't show what he can do, and he can't get his confidence. And wingers play off confidence all the time, and he can't get his hands on the ball. He's standing out there in that wing, never seeing it, and not getting an opportunity in any space to it's like a racehorse to get his gallop up and get the feel into his legs of going around a fella and how that feels as a winger to go past him and step inside when necessary and all those types of things. So I don't think we can underestimate the effect it's having on him as a player, maybe coming back from injury and going into a Connacht team that just are underperforming at the moment. Not through any fault of their own. They're giving it everything they've got. They just don't really have it at the moment,
But he does come. He does. He's one of those wingers, Reggie, that he does come in looking for the ball.
Yeah, but I mean, that's fair enough if you're going in looking for the ball of a pack that's winning every single collision and good quick ruck ball, and your line out is functioning, your scrum is strong. That's not always the case. If you're coming looking for the ball when you're going backwards, you're fighting a losing battle, And that's why, that's with the 10 position as well. I mean, you could argue exactly the same thing for Crowley. He's behind the pack that are not giving him an armchair ride the way Leinster would give to Prendergast, for example, or Ross Byrne before him, or whoever else is there in that 10 position. And any 10 worth their salt, if they're honest, will tell you that it absolutely depends on how well their pack of forwards are doing as to how they'll play. And Crowley is paying the ultimate price for that. He's not getting picked for Ireland on the back of it,
Yeah. Well, here's a question, Reggie, that popped up last week, and I asked Peter Martin, and I suggested to Peter that the only person who could probably be the best answer of this question was a former guest we've had on here, Brett Igo. How come, Reggie, Connacht seem to be able to perform in Europe, find the gaps and all that, and win some good bloody games, and they can't seem to do it in the URC?
But they don't do it consistently. They'll do it now and again. I mean, the game of rugby is all about consistency now at this stage, So, you get Connacht performing against the French side that come over maybe to the sports ground and don't want to be there, or you'll get good performances from them away from home as well. They kind of bat above the resources they have all the time, but you can only do that for so long. You can't, Dan McFarlane got a hard time when he was coaching it, but for a long time, and Pat Lamb when he was there overachieved. But for a long time, every coach in Connacht has been overachieving, and that's forgotten because Like, they don't have the squads everyone else has. They don't have the money they have. They don't have the resource they have. They're doing far better than anyone gives them credit for.
Yeah.
They're building a brilliant stand down there. You know, they're bringing atmosphere to the sports ground. They're getting the people of Connacht behind them. In what is a minority sport in that county. I mean, football and hurling would be way ahead of it historically. So they're bringing a bit of razzmatazz. They're doing everything they can, but they're still under-resourced. Massively under-resourced.
Okay.
So
now
you have to put that in context.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, Reggie. Yes, absolutely. And James Grannon would totally agree with you as well. Being in the clan stand, he will refuse to call it the North stand. It'll always be the clan stand for James Grannon. Okay, we move on. I'm going to ask everyone this. Reggie, big game on Saturday for us. It is potentially the most important game for us of the Six Nations. Where is this game going to be won and lost, Reggie?
Well, it's not potentially. It is the biggest game in the Six Nations. It's the championship because we're not going to lose. We're not going to lose to Italy. Where is it going to be won and lost? Up front, end of story. That's it. There's no other. They put a 7-1 split. They're going after us up front, and they're right to go after us up front because that's where our vulnerabilities are. If you look at the scrum, they'll be targeting that. Kroos and Antonio and Miafu, phenomenal front row. In particular, Gross underestimated in my opinion. He's a brilliant little set prop. His contribution around the pitch, tackle count, counter rucking, defensive work, amazing, absolutely brilliant. And he can carry the ball, and he can attack, and he can scrummage. And then they've got so much power and weight in behind as well that they would be mad not to go after our scrum. Absolutely mad, because our frontline scrum is holding up well. You know, there's no question. Porter and Sheehan in there. There's good strength there. Beelum, as you guys mentioned, has been performing well. But once they go off, and they will, because they're going to be knackered, what's coming in will be under pressure. And if our scrum is targeted and is tiring, if you're, as you lads who play in the front row know, if all you're doing is worrying about the next scrum and having to work your arse off every single scrum, you don't have a whole lot left for everything else that's going on around the pitch. It's sapping the energy out of you the whole time. So they'll go after us up front, and rightly so. Now, our line out is the next thing, and Paul O'Connell himself would be has stated that it hasn't been up to the standards that they set themselves. So it's been targeted by other teams. We've seen a lot of that in recent games where they've gone after our lineup and they've had success. So if they go after those two areas and they get any sort of, rattle on our lads, well, where are we going to get the ball from? That's the question I'd have. So I am very worried about this weekend. You're
not the only one, Reggie.
I am worried. I mean, it's just France they're a phenomenally good team, and they buckled in England. They blew it in England. Absolutely blew it. They should have been 3 tries up in that game, and the game out the door. And they blew it. Absolutely blew it. I'd say they can't believe it themselves. They're a team that have underachieved for the quality of players that they have. They have underachieved for years, and they're under serious pressure because they're too good not to be getting the results. They got across the line there against the All Blacks, and that kind of put a band-aid on the situation for them. If that wasn't the case, I think coach would be under a lot of pressure. But coming to the Six Nations, they were all under pressure. DuPont going off and playing sevens and winning medals and being amazing and being the world's best player and everything else that goes along with it. Deliver here in your big this is the biggest championship in the world, next to the World Cup, obviously, but this is the biggest championship in the world. Nothing else. The Six Nations is the one, and they haven't delivered the way they should have. So they're under pressure. So they blew it against England. They went out and showed us against Italy what they can do. What, they get 71 points or something? Italy aren't that bad. Italy are not a 71-point team. That'll tell you how well the French did on the day. So they're coming to Dublin, I would say, confident, and probably getting us when you could argue we're at our most vulnerable, because in key positions, we're not tried and tested the way we would have been in the past. Sam is still trying to find his way into that 10 position. you know, like I said, Tyke Furlong would have been playing in the past in title, which would give you a bit more confidence. Great to have Shane back, obviously, in hooker. Phenomenal to see him back. But there are questions, you know, the wing. We mentioned Osborne. I mean, you know, that pressure of being in there for that match. Keenan back after an injury. Where is he at? 2 12s playing in the centre instead of a 12 and a 13. You know, I would feel that that's what we have. We have a Bundy and a Henshaw with two very similar players, and up against the French centres, it's going to be hard for them. It's because these lads are creative, and then we've two out-and-out wingers on speed for France as well. So, like, where are they going to target us up front? I mean, that's it. If they get any form of dominance up front, it's very hard to see how we can win the game.
Well, I had I had a French guy, Reggie, a French fella who was that's really funny. A French guy who sent me a message. He said the weakness in our backline is Mo Fana and Barassi. They're really bad defenders. Now, this is from a French guy. I don't know. Would you agree with that?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily pretend to know that they're bad defenders, but I haven't seen too much of Mo Fana being a bad defender personally. I think he comes up and makes some pretty big hits. Now, you could argue if you had more creative centres, let's say, with Bundy, who's been amazing for us, we've got a Route 1 game plan. It's crash it up. He breaks a tackle. It takes a tackle or two players to bring him down and gets an offload. And that's where we get in behind. Instead of maybe players who might be able to be deceptive and put a foot on or put a step on and get around players the way it used to be. You know, and I think Gary Ringrose provides that. I think he does definitely provide something like that where he can find gaps or takes different lines that can ask questions of a defender. But on a face-to-face Bundyaki on Mo Fana tackle line, I'd fancy that Mo Fana's not going to back down. You know, I don't think he's going to step out of the way of Bundy and allow him to run through him. Now, whether or not he can manage Bundy's power is the next question. But I think he will. So I'm not convinced of that statement.
Okay, fair enough. Again, it's not coming from me. It was a French guy, a La Rochelle supporter, who sent me that message. Okay, Peter Martin, I'm coming to you next as to where this game is going to be won and lost. But before I do, just a couple of comments from people watching. Stephen Somerville, well, lads, just want to get your thoughts on Jack Boyle. Do you think he will evolve into the backup number one for Porter? Reggie, I might keep that one for you to come back to answer. Conan McIntyre, I'm kind of worried too. If we get the win, Grand Slam will be ours. Yes. Okay. Mike Sheedy says this Saturday is going to battle Irish players. Have to be better than round 3. Ireland will. Jack, he do drop up. Oh, okay. Thanks. James Grannon, thanks, Mike. James Grannon, Bundy and Henshaw, well used of playing at 12 and 13. Did it for years at Connacht. No worries there. Okay, Peter Martin, where is this game going to be won and lost? And would you agree with what Reggie said? It's going to be 1-8. Where I said it will be 9-15. Peter Martin.
Yeah, I do think I would agree with Reggie. Like it's like the fact that they've gone with 7 forwards. Like there's 15. When you think about it, there's 15 big, ugly, quite skillful, but very strong, powerful French forwards going to be on the pitch. You know, at throughout 80 minutes, like it's if that isn't a statement of intent, like basically Galtier is nailing his colours to the mast. He's basically hoping, you know, that he's got Miafu coming off the bench at 6'7" and 22 flipping stone. You know, if you're after putting, if you're Tyg Byrne, and no offense to Tyg Byrne, but if you're Tyg Byrne and he's put in his regular performance, which is X number of carries, Y number of breakdown steals, and everything else. He's all singing, all dancing, world-class second row forward he is. And you've got this behemoth coming at you, steaming, ball in hand, hungry to batter you. You know, it's a tough one. Like, you know, it's the kind of thing where a man can get injured significantly, you know, with that size and power coming to you, and he's fresh. So yeah, I think
But sure, Pete, we've Conan, we've Baird coming off the bench. So there is that.
I know. But then I'm just coming back to the point is that, like, and this is all the genetics and so on and so forth. Like, we aren't a nation that produces big guys, right? Let's call a spade a spade. Mafu isn't French. Let's be clear about that. He is Australian of, I'd say, Tongan heritage or something like that. He's flipping enormous. He's even if you stuck him in a gym and told him to lose weight, he'd still be flipping enormous. We just don't have that. We don't have those guys. Like, most of our bulk, Tyg Furlong probably apart, most of our big guys is all gym manufactured. Eating chickens until they're coming out their ears, and all the protein and whey powder and all that kind of stuff to get them big. We don't have naturally big guys. Now, some of the under 20s, I was at the open training session this day last week. A couple of those under 20s that we have coming through, they're big lads. They're Tyg Furlong size farmer, big, strong, natural strong boys with a little bit of time in the gym. But we don't have, in my view, the big natural. What we have is, superbly talented all around. Our strength really lies in our footballing ability, our noose, the bit between our ears, the skill level, the execution, the technique, the absolute raw power. It's all manufactured stuff, and it gets us so far, but it doesn't. We
don't have it. Yeah, we don't have it.
We certainly can't say, look, go to the French and say, yeah, we're just matching you man for man.
Here's the bag of crisps on the earphones back again. Who's moving? Who's doing what?
We're all looking at you, Sheedy.
A bag of crisps in their pocket or something.
Oh, so someone's scraping something. I can hear it. I can hear it quite clearly.
They're all right.
Mike?
No, it's just crackling in a speaker somewhere.
Yeah, it's probably you, Mike, being the technophobe.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know, actually, now come here. Reggie,
Yep.
Richard,
Yep.
and Pete and Dara. I'll tell you a true story, right? Before we came on air, there was feedback from Mike Reedy, and he had his headphones on, and he didn't realise they were turned on. There you go. So
they weren't fucking on. They never connected up.
There you go. Thank you, QED. Right, Dara Weston. Where is this game going to be one loss? Would you agree with what Reggie and Pete said? It's going to be 1-8.
I'd never agree with Reggie because he's been there, done that. He's been in the trenches, and obviously being a Leinster supporter and Nairn fan, a lot of respect for him. The only thing I think we can do is if we can somehow try and stop Dupont, close them down a bit, we can seriously affect them. They've had the first 20 minutes of the Italy game. I think a large part of how Italy managed to play well was the fact that Dupont was a bit kind of average. And then in the previous game, Dupont had a fairly bad game. I mean, it was like watching God be average. And that helped. I mean, the other thing is, as we know, Galtier hasn't had the best two last season and this season. And so French coaches are only ever one game away from getting their P45s. And oftentimes the players are happy to help out by just not turning up to get rid of their coach. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think it's going to be a tough game. I'm not thinking about Grand Slams. I'm thinking about just Six Nations and the three-peat, the 3 in a row. So, but yeah, I think, look, we have a solid pack. We've Caelan back. We've solid replacements. And yeah, I think if we can try and limit Dupont in some way, that's going to affect the French backs.
All right. Thanks, Dara.
Yep.
Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
All right, okay. Thanks, Dara. Mike Reedy, where's this game going to be won and lost? Would you agree with Reggie and Pete and Dara to some extent? 1-8 or 90-15?
I would. What I think is, in view of what Reggie just said, we're lacking a bit of oomph, a bit of power in our front row. The secret is to stop fucking dropping the ball and reduce the handling errors for scrum. If we keep the ball to hand and reduce the number of mistakes, we have a lot better chance because we have a more mobile pack and better ball handling skills. So if we can reduce the handling errors and reduce the number of their scrums, it's not too bad if we have to put in. We have a chance to if we're under pressure, get in and get out. But if they put us under pressure and we're fucking folding like we did against Wales, for instance, which was shocking in a way, we could be in a bit of bother. Line-out needs to be more solid. I think obviously keep the ball away from DuPont, but Gibson Park has been absolutely outstanding in the Six Nations, and he's been as good, if we're honest, as DuPont has, and that's some fucking accolade. He has been better. He has been better.
He's been better in this.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like because he's been 7, 8, 9 out of 10 in all 3 games.
Every game, yeah.
DuPont had a dreadful outing against England, really poor outing against England. Average. He was only average against Italy, if we're honest. Against an Italy side that just gave up. But we have lads. We're good enough to beat them. We're better footballing. And here's a stat. Outside of the Scotland Italy game, the team that have kicked the most in every game has won the game in all the other 5 games in the Six Nations.
That's not true because England have kicked the most in the Six Nations so far.
England have won 2 matches.
I know, but they haven't won the most. Yeah, we beat them. They haven't won the most. We beat them.
Yeah, but they won. No, I'm saying the team that has kicked in the most in every individual game has won the game. Outside of the Scotland-Italy game, the team that has kicked the most in every game has actually won the game. Now, and that's an interesting stat. And the team that's passing the ball is not. So, if we can kick well and our kick chase and we contest to the chase, which we do, we're pretty good in the air. And I think the reason for picking young Osborne is also the 6-2 split. He's versatile. He covers a good few positions on the pitch. So I think he got that nod there ahead of. Apparently Calvin Nash has a rib injury as well. But right. I think you know something, lads. It's 50-50 for me. They're going to come and they know they have to perform, because if they perform like they did in the last 2 games, we'll fucking beat them, because we will go up the 80 minutes.
Yeah. If you slightly flip the question around, Peter, just as a matter of interest, if you slightly flip it around and you ask how are we going to beat them instead of where they're going to beat us. I mean, from an Irish perspective, like I don't know how many times over the last 6-7 years I've looked at the Irish team and questioned how they're going to beat the opposition that they're up against, whether it be in World Cups against the likes of South Africa or in Six Nations games or whatever. And they have produced time and time again, and they've gotten the results, and they've left me going, Jesus, fair play, Christ. I didn't see that. I couldn't see that. But they've gone out and they've performed and they've done it so many times over the last 6 or 7 years. And this is another example of that. It's not that I don't believe Ireland can win the game, because absolutely, they've proven to me so many times in the past that they can, that I absolutely believe that they can. But the way I'm analysing it is, how can they win it? So there's no doubt what we've all said is very true. They'll attack us up front. They'll go after our forwards. They've got, like you said, 15 brutes there that are going to be coming out looking for their dinner with green jerseys on them, and they'll do their best to eat it alive. And this happens regularly with French teams, the La Rochelles, the big giants that they have. They run out of steam, and that might be a reason why they've got 7 of them on the deck. So from an Irish perspective, how do we beat them? We've got to speed the game up to a level that they can't live with. Now, that's easier said than done, but we are an extremely fit team, Ireland, extremely fit, fitter than French teams. Now, the French have caught up a little bit, but in the past we've been fitter than them, and that's why we've beaten them. So we need to wear them out. We need to leave those big, huge men, as you said, giants. You can't carry that weight around. You can't run at that speed consistently. Antonio, forget about it. If the game is going fast for him, he's gone. He'd be off at half time, right?
Yeah.
And there's plenty more like him. So that if you're an Irish person and you're looking at this, you want to see Jamison Gibson Park tapping and going and looking to offload to likes of Bundy to get the game going quickly. You want Bundy playing like a man possessed, like he did in the last match with his nose all over his face, and just looking for action constantly. And that's when then the likes of Baird will come in and the likes of Caelan Doris will come in. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Jack Conan will come in, and they will up it again to another level of speed and pace to bring it on. So if we see Ireland, let's say Ireland started brilliantly in a couple of the matches, this Six Nations, that has to be the whole 80 minutes. If they start really fast and the French are blown after 5 minutes, the big French lads are blown after 5 minutes, and they're going, Jesus Christ, I can't keep this up, then we'll have them. But if we allow them to slow it down and settle into the game and use their bulk and maul us and scrum us and bring it down to their tempo, we haven't got a chance. So if you're asking me how we beat, that's how we beat them. Speed up the game, have it so fast, and maybe that's why you've got like have an Osborne there. Get the ball, bit of speed, go stepping, be evasive. And just run around them, like avoid the big collisions. We don't want to be near them. We don't want to be near their big players. Don't let them get near you. Just avoid them at all costs. Keep the ball alive. And if you look at when France get into a zone and they're phenomenal, like Toulouse have been in the past in games that I've been involved in, or as they were last week against Italy. When they get into a zone of playing a brand of rugby where it's just flipping the ball around and it's out the back door, and even when they're getting tackled, they're still somehow offloading the ball, they're impossible to stop. We need to actually be like that. And if we're like that, their lads will be flagging after 20 minutes and then we'll have them.
You know who you just reminded me of there, Reggie, when you were saying that about the fitness on the big lads? Will Skelton. Big, huge, thunderous lad.
Yeah.
Two tackle job, line break extraordinaire. 20 minutes and he's wrecked.
Yeah. And that's that's the case. That is the case. And the proof of that has always been going back in history, because if you look at the All Blacks, times I played against the All Blacks, you go out. I remember the very first time you go against the All Blacks, you're shitting yourself, going, "Oh my God, it's the All Blacks!" And you get out onto the pitch and you realise they're smaller than me. They're not giants. They're not superhumans. They just are incredibly fast, incredibly skillful, and they hit you like a truck, even though they're smaller than you. So and they've beaten the South Africans and the Englands and the Lions and all of these monsters that come along, and they've beaten them through speed, pace, and skill. And no matter what you say, pace will always beat size on a rugby pitch with skill.
Yeah, true. Okay, gentlemen. Look, as always, I sent everyone a list, but as always, we never get through it. We don't even get through half of it at this stage. We're approaching 50 minutes here now. We keep us an hour or just over an hour. Anyway, to move on. One thing, Reggie, I wanted to ask you because you are living proof of this. There was an awful lot in the groups. As I said, we run Irish Rugby Banter, but I also run another group with about Leinster rugby supporters, fan forum, right? There is this thing, right? As much as I try to diffuse it and say it's not true, it still pops up. This IRFU bias towards Leinster, the D4 Brigade, this shite that we see weekly in that, the IRFU favour Leinster players in the national squad. Right. Now, I'm going to throw it back to you, Reggie. 20 years ago, your era, right? You had Simon Best, you had Rory Best, you had Anthony Foley, the late great Anthony Foley, you had Marcus Horn, Bernard Jackman, Frankie Sheehan, you had Quinny, you had Rog, you had Stringer, you had Bod. So this thing, as much as you try and explain it to people, there is no bias in the IRFU. This is cyclical. Every 5-10 years, you see it. It comes around again. It comes around again. It comes around again. And I just thought Reggie is going to be the best person to answer this question. Is there IRFU bias? Is there IRFU bias?
You mightn't like
There's
the
not.
answer.
Go on, give us your answer.
No, I'll tell you, it's not a case of bias, but it is a case. It is a case of, unfortunately, the facts are that the other provinces have fallen away dramatically. Now, whose fault is that? You can ask. Like you can't give out about the fact that Leinster got their act together and got themselves organised and have a phenomenal setup now. You can't give out about that because fair play to them, they're in the position to do it. They've got the biggest population. They've got the biggest catchment area. They sell 25,000 season tickets every year, so they've got the most money, and they've got the supporter base, and they've got everything going for them. They're in the capital city. They've everything going for them. But when I was there, they had everything going for them too. But we still couldn't beat Munster in the semi-final of the European Cup because Munster were organised. Ulster were a force to be reckoned with. When I was playing for Ireland, there was probably 5 or 6 Ulstermen on the team. There isn't now. There wasn't even one in one of the games this year. I can't remember. Was it the Scottish game?
Last two.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Last two, was it? There wasn't even one Ulster. Yeah. That's absolutely disgraceful. Now you say to yourself, there he goes going on about Leinster being great. I'm not talking about that at all. What I'm saying here is the problem runs so deep and is so important to get it fixed. It's not funny. And the problem is that the school systems, whether we want to accept it or not accept it, are feeding the Leinster academies because their schools rugby is professional in a couple of schools in Dublin. There's no question about it. It's absolutely professional. And then there's a few schools around that are as good as professional, and then the rest are trying to catch up. There's nothing equivalent to that anywhere in the rest of the country. So they don't have that ready-made academy system in their school system feeding into the Munster, Ulster and Connacht academies. They don't have it. They're relying on the clubs, and the clubs can't do it to the level because there's money involved, lads. There's a lot of money being spent in these schools to bring these players to the standard that they're at. So Leinster are happy as Larry, and why wouldn't they be? Because they're getting the best young players in their province coming through to them, and all wanting to play for Leinster and ambitious enough to give it everything that they've got. But from an Irish rugby perspective, it's devastating because we cannot go on without the other 3 provinces performing. It just can't. It has to. Like, the best of Irish rugby was when we were all fighting hammer and tongs against each other. The great rivalry that there used to be between Munster and Leinster. You can't say that that's the same anymore as it was.
No.
I mean, it was 50-50 back in the day as to who was going to win the match. It's really not now, and certainly not with Ulster. I mean, Jesus, Ulster was one of the toughest games of the year, and you'd argue Ulster, they should be doing so much better than they are with the players that they have, but they just don't seem to be able to. And I mean, Richie Murphy's gone up there, and Leinster man gone up there trying to sort the thing out, and he's got his hands absolutely full. So it's a much deeper rooted problem. It's far too easy to turn around and say there's a few bias that Leinster get everything. They don't. The best players are there. They're picking the best players and they're putting them in. And it's the same with the central contract. Like, it's not a good thing that nearly all of the central contracts are from Leinster. That's not a good thing.
I agree. I totally agree, Reggie. I totally agree. Yeah, absolutely, yes.
And actually, on Reggie's point about the schools there, like, I remember a couple of years ago, probably 10 years ago now, when Tony O'Reilly had Jake White over coaching Belvedere, their senior cup team. But then JP McManus also has spent money on schools teams down in Munster as well. So, it's kind of... But, if you look at Munster...
But Munster has its own divide going on with the Cork-Limerick thing. And that makes it even more difficult. So, now Cork are going towards back to the GAA because there's that divide within itself. So there's infighting going there too. So, it's really tricky. And if you're talking to any Munster players,
married to a Cork woman, so it's So
am I, and everybody thinks I'm anti-Munster.
So am I.
Okay, Peter Martin, your thoughts on all this IRFE supposed bias, which we just debunked as not true. I just think it's ridiculous. But as Reggie said,
I think people are. I think my own view is I think people don't want to accept the fact that it's convenient to turn around and say that it's Leinster the whole way, rather than actually saying, hang on a minute, if it's a Munster fan, what's going wrong in my own province? Like, to be perfectly honest, Munster fans who are actually throwing that shit on Leinster really don't have a leg to stand on, because the absolute shit show that has been in Munster for the last few years. Granted, they've pulled a masterstroke in getting Clayton McMillan, and I'm glad for them that they did manage to get as good a coach as McMillan is. His reputation goes before him. He's very, very strong. I do think, but like that's basically putting a very good roof on a shit house, I think, really, in many sense, because it's not going to solve, like obviously McMillan will come in, and I'm sure he'll have a consultation with those at grassroots and say, look, what's going on, what's coming through, and be part of that conversation. But the bottom line is, Munster aren't really producing players through their academy. Jack Crowley apart, who else?
Tomas Earl would be
Casey,
Calvin Nash, young Campbell.
I have a few of them. You have a few of them there.
He's been injured.
Craig Casey.
There's a handful of them there, but there's a handful of them. There's a handful of them, but like, you're counting players in one hand. If you're drawing a comparison to what Leinster are getting through, the contest is over. Like, you look at Ulster. Ulster have nothing coming through. Like, and they supposedly had, if anything, a school system somewhat on a footing similar to Leinster insofar as it had the schools. And I remember watching it as a young fella. You'd see the schools cup game at Ravenhill, and it was always like, Jesus, I never used to see it, because you never saw the Leinster schools cup, because it was never televised. But you saw on BBC Northern Ireland, like, you saw the could have been BRA versus RBAI or however the hell it was, like, you'd see, and it was serious. It was absolutely fantastic bloody entertainment, fantastic quality. Where are those kids now? Who's coming through? There's nothing coming through. I don't know. Like, Connacht seem to be doing something, it seems, with their academy. But like, this is the whole thing, is that it's too convenient to say, Leinster, they're this, they're that, they're biased and ever. I think these fans need to have a good hard look and realise that, hang on, your own house is not in order. Get it in order, and just basically shut up and stop with the shithousing and accusations of bias, because it's not fair.
Well, can I just come in on that there?
Yeah, so you go on, Richard.
Yeah, just, and I'm a Munster fan, as you all know, but to me, it's, and I'm drawing parallels to the Welsh team, the current Welsh team, is in the 2000s, when Munster were at their zenith, the people at the top thought the gravy train was never going to end, and there was a massive lack of investment in what was coming into the future, and we are reaping that now, I'll be honest with you. I think we were 15 years behind Leinster in setting up an academy. That'll just tell you how big of a gulf there is there now. It's, to me, it's, look, we need 4 strong provinces in Ireland. Like, we need a strong Wales in the Six Nations. It's bad for the game just to see what's happening. Like, if you take, and I know you don't like it, Peter, but we'll take the GA as an example with Dublin and their dominance. Leinster football is dead because of that, and that's what I'm worried about happening in Ireland, in that it will damage the game in the other 3 provinces, and that is not a good place to be.
It's not, but the other point is, I mean, I know going back in my day, and this would worry me now, that there was a school system in Munster back in the day, but that wasn't really what was feeding the Munster team. Like, the lads, the AIL was. The lads back in my day, young Munster were a force to be reckoned with. Gary Owen were a phenomenal team. Shannon, I mean, for God's sake, you know what I mean? All those teams are dying on their feet. Do you know what I mean? Those clubs. And they were the clubs that fed Munster rugby. And, I think there's been a serious lack of support for the clubs, is the only way you can say it. Like, I mean, they say they're supporting them. They say there's this club program put in place for this, that, and the other. But, like, the evidence isn't there to support it. It really isn't.
Is it just money, Reggie? Is it just money?
Well, of course, it's money. Sure, the clubs can't afford to keep going. Like, I mean, up the north was the same. You had Ballaminas, you had Dungannons, you had all Instonians, you had all these clubs up the north that were the lifeblood, as well as the school system in Ulster, of the Ulster provincial team. That's where they came from. And in Munster, that's where they came from. And you had Cork Con, you had Dolphin, Sunday as well. I mean, the names go on. Like, there's 3 clubs in Cork that were phenomenally good teams back in the day. You couldn't beat them. And you go to Limerick and you did the same thing. And Old Crescent, teams that produced serious international players for many, many years. And that doesn't happen now, lads, because the youth systems in those clubs are, like, they're doing their best. But, like, it's just, that doesn't happen in Leinster either, by the way. Like, we're not producing players from Greystones. There was 7 internationals out of Greystones. You're not producing them anymore. You're not producing them out of, let's say, when was the last Mary's player or Clontarf or Lansdowne?
Johnny Sexton.
Yeah, well, okay. Sorry, Johnny Sexton. But that was his club as a youth. Do you know what I mean?
I know. Well, come here. You're never going to get one from my club, if I was a member, which is Delasal Parmesan. We won the senior cup.
Desi Fitz back in the day.
Desi Fitz, and there was another fella as well, another forward. I can't think of his name.
Tom Clancy.
Tom Clancy.
Yeah, Tom. Yeah.
Tom Clancy.
Well, he was.
We won the senior cup in 83 and 85. The only fee-paying school to win it twice. There you go. Right, before we go on to win, lose, or draw coming up next weekend, Mike Reedy, I nearly forgot about you. Your thoughts on all this, the bias that has been the IRFU been accused of, which none of us agree with.
My support starts and finishes with Ireland, if I'm honest. Ireland first, always and every day. I go back to when the provinces were only representational sides. There was the amateur game back in the 70s and 80s, and the international team was always number 1 for me, and it still is 100%. I couldn't give a flying fuck what team are represented. If Leinster had 23 players to represent Ireland, I'm good with that. After the 23, the most important thing for me is that the 23 best players are representing every game, and if that happens to be from Leinster, so be it. It's unfortunate because I agree with the lads. What the lads said, it's not healthy for the Irish game as a whole. We do need the other provinces to be stronger, but they have to get their act together. You're not going to become stronger by whinging. You become stronger by becoming fucking better players and producing better players through your academy. And if that doesn't happen, then
it's not as simple as that, though, Mike.
I know it's not. I know it's not as simple as that. But it still is. To a degree, it actually is. But how do you do it? I don't know. No, that being said, Leinster are in a position where they're producing too fucking many players. And to try and keep all those satisfied, give them enough game time to play for Leinster has become an issue. So that they're moving them on. I would prefer they're moved on within Ireland rather than go overseas. I think Ross Byrne should have stayed. He could have got a game for any other province. And he'd have been good enough for any other province. He wasn't... I made my point about that. I'm not going to say any more about him.
Yes.
But most of the Leinster players we send down to you in Munster, you break. Look at Carberry straight away. Ty Byrne's the only one you haven't broken.
He was broke long before he came to Munster, you bollocks.
All right, okay. Anyway, before we go on to our win, lose, or draw, just a couple of comments there. Una McGowan talking about the French game. A fast start and get them rattled. Also delighted Osborne is getting a chance. Yes, Una, I would agree with you. Conan McIntyre, Henderson was in the England. Herring is in the team this Saturday. Okay. Bevan Marie, it rotates. He was Munster in the late 2000s. Yes. Early 2000s even. And before it was Ulster. That's what you were saying, Reggie. This is what happens. It just depends on the players at the time. In 10 years, it could be Connacht, touted, and everyone will be like the only like Connacht, green tinted glasses, etc. They are now with Leinster. Okay.
No, I totally disagree with that statement, Bev. I'm very sorry to tell you. It's not that it rotates. when it was rotating with Munster in the early 2000s, everybody was on a level playing field. Munster had players coming in from the clubs, as I said. Ulster had a similar situation with their schools. Since then, the clubs have gone backwards in Munster. Ask any Munster person. Alan Quinn was even on talking about the demise of Shannon and the likes of McGaughy himself, the Bull Hayes coming from a club like that. That doesn't happen anymore. So it can't go in rotation if you're not feeding into the system. Same with Ulster and same with Connacht. You can't, it can't go in cycles. I've heard this cyclical thing before where people are talking about it. No, it's cyclical. And that's true in certain positions. Sometimes we've a wealth of props, sometimes we wealth of second rows. We've always had a wealth of back rows. But at the moment, it could be cyclical in the front row, for example, while we wait for the next crop to get to the age where they're going to be good enough, the likes of the Jack Boyle that you mentioned earlier on. But that's not the same case. And the longer you ignore it, and I'm sorry to have to say it to you, but you should be on the IRFU panel with an attitude of Ireland first, and it doesn't matter about anybody else, because that seems to be the IRFU attitude, because the cash cow is the Irish team. That pays for everything. For everything. So as long as that's all right, we're all right, Jack, and we'll, the rest of you look after your own place. But unfortunately, they won't keep winning if you don't have the right structures around to feed into it and support it. There's let's say there's 4 legs in a chair. You start pulling 3 of them away, you have a job to sit in it.
Yeah, that's a good point, a good analogy. Now, come here to me before we go on. There was one point I wanted to ask you, Reggie, because I knew you were coming on. Rumor. I just want to hear your opinion, whether it's a good idea, bad idea, whether it happened or not. No.
Rumor.
Rumor, yeah. Oh, yeah, go, yeah, like that. Pat Lam to Wales.
Pat Lam what?
To Wales.
To Wales? I didn't hear that rumor. Yeah. Never heard that.
All right, go on. I am the furnisher of rumors. What would you reckon? Would that be good, bad, and different? Do you give a shite?
You'd have to think about these things. I can't imagine Pat Lam would want to go to Wales. I mean, he left Connacht to go to a fairly lucrative career over in the UK, and why would you take a step
Bath
backwards?
or Bristol? He went to where did he go? Bristol.
Bristol.
Bath.
Well, Bristol first. Bristol first.
He was at Bristol. Maybe he's at Bath now. Yeah.
No, sure. Van Grandin's at Bristol.
Yeah, no. And the other one, Reggie.
When he first left Connacht, I thought it was Bristol he went to, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, so did I actually.
Or did he come from Bristol to Connacht? Maybe that was the way it was.
I don't know.
It doesn't really matter. They're all the same.
No.
They begin with a B. But I'm talking about Irish rugby having problems. So let's go Wales. I mean,
no, that's a whole different show, Reggie.
Yeah,
I'm not going there.
So why would I don't know, but Pat Lam might be, but it would take a fair old checkbook to entice him to go after that job, because you're trying to fix Welsh rugby there. You're not just trying to put out a team that's going to be competitive. So I don't know. Never heard that.
And the other one, anyway. Okay, and the other one, Reggie. The other rumor was Michael Cheika to Racing.
Yeah, I did hear something about that. All right, I wouldn't doubt that rumor could. Yeah, that could well happen, because he speaks French and he likes the lifestyle of France. So I wouldn't doubt that could well be in the running yet.
Okay, all right, here we go. Okay, we're going to finish on this win, lose, or draw. So who's winning, who's losing, who's drawing? Okay, Dara Weston in Arizona. Dara is apparently in Arizona for work, but we have our doubts.
No, I've been busting my arse at a conference for the past couple of days.
Smoking cigars.
Yeah. We all believe it.
I'm going to a cigar shop now after this.
Right. Okay, Dara. First up, we have Ireland versus France. Who's winning? Who's losing? Or is it going to be a draw?
Okay, I mean, obviously, my heart, I can only say Ireland. I think there's going to be maybe one score difference in it. So Ireland by, less than 7 points, maybe, or 7 points. I do think, there'll probably be about 3 tries each. We might even get a bonus try out of it. But yeah, I'm hoping I think we'll just scrape it.
Okay, so 7 points. Okay, Dara, second one coming up. Scotland are entertaining the Welsh.
I don't think the Welsh are going to get a second bounce like they did against us. So I think it's going to be Scotland.
Okay. Dara, Weston, Scotland. Okay, and the last one, England are in Twickenham entertaining Italy.
The half Italian side of me would love to say Italy. I think Italy might keep them honest. I think England might only beat them by 2 or 3 tries. You know, it could be 40 something, 30 something, whatever. So I'd say Italy will get some tries.
All right.
But I'd say England will probably realistically win it.
All right. Okay, thanks, Sarah. Peter Martin, Ireland versus France in the Aviva on Saturday, kick-off at 2:15. Who is winning that?
Jesus.
Be honest now. Be honest.
Yeah. I think the home advantage might sway it by a score, squeaky bum time, and all that. But yeah.
So you're going for Ireland to win that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Scotland in Murrayfield entertaining Wales.
Yeah. I think the few surprises that Sheriff was able to throw out against us, I think, he's kind of, as Dara said, there won't be a second bounce. I think I don't expect to get the kind of proud performance from Wales, the difficult performance that again from them. I think Scotland will have too much for them.
Okay. And lastly, England in Twickenham entertaining Italy.
Oh, I'm going to stick my neck out and say Italy.
Really? Okay.
Go on now. Good on you.
For the simple reason being, I do think Borthwick is an absolute spoofer at this stage. He's after dropping Marcus Smith. Now, against that, he's after putting a load of Northampton players in, so he's hoping that the whole cohesion thing and the club thing is going to work for him. But I do think, what's his name, Casada is a very, very wily coach. I think Italy are in a very good place under him. And I would only love it if they stole a famous victory.
Wouldn't we all?
Borthwick.
Italians could get 2 coaches out in this Six Nations.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah. All right. Okay. Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Tara. Reggie, over to you. Win, lose, or draw. Ireland versus France, Reggie. You got to call it.
I have no problem calling it, and they can put it up in the dressing room wall. I think France are going to beat us, and I'll preference that by just saying, obviously I want Ireland to win, but at the moment, from analysing it, it looks to me like France are the better team, and I think they'll beat us. And I pray to God that they prove me wrong, like they have so many times in the past. But weighing it up, it just feels to me that the French are the stronger team at the moment.
Okay, fair enough. Fair comment. Scotland entertaining the Welsh.
Scotland win that, and I think handy. There's going to be pressure on them to bounce back. They haven't performed. Finn Russell has been terrible so far. They should have beaten England if they had even one of the kicks. So they're Wales. They're just. It's not their fault. They're just not at the races at the moment. I think Scotland will at home do a job on them.
Okay. England at home entertaining Italy, Reggie.
Yeah, Italy will find it hard to come back from that defeat. The last day out, their confidence will be down, haven't been up for a while. They're a great team. They've come a long way, but England will do a job on them again because they're at home. They're feeling confident. Your man Finn Smith is a good find, I think. I think they've found their right 10 now. They feel like a team that are starting to bubble. And I think Italy will stick with them for a good while, and then I think England will pull away. There won't be much in it, maybe 10 points.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Reggie. Richard Holland, to you. We are entertaining France. Who is winning that?
I'm going to go a very tight game, but Ireland just to shade it.
Okay. Scotland entertaining the Welsh.
If Finn Russell performs, I think Wales could be in for an awful long evening. But even if he doesn't, I still expect Scotland to win it.
All right. Okay. And England entertaining Italy in Twickenham.
I expect Italy to stay with England for about 50 minutes and then they'll just fall away. It's unfortunate. And I would love to see him win it, but England will win that one.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Richard. And Mike, last shout on the show this evening. Ireland versus France. Who's winning that?
We need to front up, lads, and every time we've been asked to front up, we have. South Africa tried to bully us. They fucking didn't. They weren't able. If we can match them in our pack in any shape or form, we'll beat them. We're a better all around team. So I'm going to go with Ireland, just by a score.
Okay, and the place you're living, Scotland. You are entertaining the Welsh.
I haven't seen any Scotland media fucking slaughtering fucking Wales, so they haven't got that bounce for starters to come, and they haven't got that fucking bit of grunt in them. So no, lads, I worry about Wales as well. But Scotland have been an absolute fucking disappointment. So they'll win it probably comfortably enough.
Okay, and lastly, Mike, England in Twickenham against the Italians.
I'll tell you something, by the way. England cannot defend out wide. They're fucking a shambolic defence out wide. And Italy have fucking lightning fast wingers and a great full back. So I'll tell you one thing. I think I'd fucking love to see Italy turn them over. England have actually got away with absolute murder in this Six Nations. So they've won 2 games they should have lost, and they deservedly lost in Dublin. I think fucking Italy could turn them over. I'm going with Italy. Sorry.
Well, go on, get it in there. Go on. Okay, folks, that's all we have time for. We are way over time, as always. My thanks to Mike Reedy in Scotland, Richard Holland, Dara Weston, all the way from Arizona, Peter Martin, and our special guest, our returning special guest, and always a friend to the show, always welcome, Reggie Corrigan. Thank you very much for your time, your input, your knowledge, and your comments. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you back on. So thank you very much. Gentlemen, enjoy the rest of your evening, and it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Reggie.
All the best for everybody that tuned in.